Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am Johara Harper, and I am here to celebrate my book release. This is a long anticipated release. It is The Queen of Monsters, book 3 in the Realm of Monsters trilogy. I feel like I've been working on this book for at least a year, if not longer, on and off, because as I was working on this one, I was also working on my novella series, which I had published like 10 novellas. I think I published them all within that year. And yeah, so I really wanted to get the novellas done, and then I started focusing more on the novellas, and it just took me so long to get this book done and out. But I am so excited that it is finally published, because I have been so excited for this book's release. It is the last book in this trilogy, and I feel like I've been working on this series for so long, because there's the 3 books in the trilogy plus 10 novellas, and I have another trilogy actually planned for it, but I am taking a break because I actually have a few books planned for my existing series. I have 3 existing series, including this one, and I have like a few books for each series planned, but I'm taking a break from everything I've already written because I'm very excited for my Scooby-Doo retelling, as well as the Skeleton series I've been long anticipating, so that is where my focus is going to be for now. But there will eventually be more books in the Realm of Monsters universe, so I know at least one person that's very excited for that trilogy, because it involves like 2 of her favorite characters and some of her favorite friendships, so I am excited to work on that eventually, but I am so excited for what I have to come. But so for anyone who has not read my Realm Monsters series, basically, it's about Calista, who her abuser, more or less, shows up, finally finds her after like nearly 1,000 years of running from him, and wants to destroy her home, the monster realm, and force every monster back into the mortal realm, because he feels like they were casted out of their home, and he wants to reign over them, and he's a little obsessed with Calista. In book 1, you get to see that they go to the mortal realm to stop him. In the second book, they do that more or less. In the third book, they come back to the monster realm, because I feel like the first and second book, except for here and there, they were actually outside the monster realm. But the third book is all in the monster realm, from more or less. And in the third book, the main villain of the first 2 books is defeated. So they come back like, great, he's defeated. We can rest. They were wrong, because he had helpers, and those helpers have taken over the monster realm. So now they have to save the monster realm still and try to stop his helpers before they succeed in his goal, which is what they've been trying to stop this entire time, so they don't get to rest the way they wanted to. I have some people here, so I would love if you guys had any questions for me about my universe, my writing, any of my previous books, any of my future books. I would love to hear your thoughts. Hi, Ellie. So glad you could make it. Huge congrats on your next release. Love your series. Oh, thank you. That means so much. Ellie is amazing. She actually better read all my novellas and The Queen of Monsters. So thank you so much for supporting me so much. I am so excited for the series to finally be the main trilogy, at least, to be completed, because I feel like I've been working on it forever, but I'm so happy that third book is now finally out. So excited for that. I do have, somebody did ask me a question on Blue Sky. Barb, thank you for asking me this question. Who is your all-time favorite character you've ever written, and why? Ooh, good question. That's hard. Any character I've ever written. I feel like there's a lot of characters I love, but I feel like Calista is just on a whole other level. Maybe it's because I've been with her longer than any other character I've written, just because not only did I have her for the main trilogy, I have her for all the novellas, plus she's going to be in the prequel trilogy, so I just feel like I've spent more time with her than any other character. but I do love her. I feel like she's different than my other two main characters from my other two series, because my other two series, they were more pacifist. They were more like on the kind and sweet side, and um, like in my Jasmine Press series, there was a whole arc where Jasmine did not want to murder the villain. And then Skylar is kind of in between. I feel like she still doesn't want to murder, but she will, like, I feel like she did what she had to do. And then there's Kalista, who's not afraid to shed some blood if you get on her bad side. She's just on a whole other level, but she's been so much fun to write. Like I said, she's completely different than any other main character I've written, and she's been so much fun to write. Like, she is so sarcastic, so witty, and so fun to just be the main character of, to like be in her head to write. Like, she's just so fun to do all that with, because she's just so different, and she isn't afraid to shed blood. She isn't afraid to yell at you, to whatever. Like, she's just so much fun to write. So I'm gonna have to go with Kalista for that one. Kalista's so awesome. Yeah, she is so fun, and I absolutely love writing her. And she seems to be a fan favorite. I know Ellie said she was one of her favorite characters, so I absolutely love her. If you guys have any questions, you can ask. I am free to answer any questions you have, because I am just so happy to be here with all of you and celebrate my book's release. Okay, what are your favorite scenes in this book? Ooh, that's good. That's good. That's hard. I don't think I can narrow it down to one, but I can narrow it down to a few. I feel like I absolutely love the Day of the Dead chapter and the Monstrum Regni chapter. Those two chapters were some of my most anticipated chapters that I waited so long to be able to write, and I'm very happy with how they came out. Also, I absolutely love the final fight. The final fight was several chapters long, and there was different elements to the fight. Like, one of my favorite parts of the fight was Rain's fight with Dana, because that was also long anticipated. I waited so long to be able to write the Rain and Dana chapter, because I just knew it was going to be so explosive. If you know, you know. I did do a little pun with that one, but it was so fun to write, because because Rain and Dana are like the two most powerful beings in the world. And it was just so fun to write and showcase how powerful they are, and how, lack for a better word, explosive both of them can be if their powers are untapped. And when they fought, yeah, it got pretty. So it wasn't pretty. But yeah, that was such a fun chapter to write. But that wasn't my only favorite part of the battle. I love the battle as a whole. Kalista's fight with Ayanna, Isabella, Jeremy, and Henry going after Ayanna, and all of it. I love writing final battles. They're always so big. Maybe it's because I always loved battle scenes in TV, so I just love a good battle scene, and I absolutely love how this battle turned out. I feel like it was long anticipated after waiting so long for book 3. Thank you so much. Advice for writing fight scenes with magic versus weapons. Ooh, good. I do feel like I am better at the weapons part, despite my love for magic and all things witches. And I will say I do take some inspiration from the TV shows I watch, because I do watch mostly fantasy, and I know when it comes to the fight scenes, Buffy's a huge inspiration, and then when it comes to magic scenes, Charmed is a huge inspiration. They were two of my first real shows I ever really got into, and I've loved them for like as long as I can remember. So like if I'm writing a scene with fight scenes and weapons, I think about like some fights that happen in Buffy, and same with magic and Charm. And I think it all comes down, like with writing with weapons, I feel like you do have to take inspiration from other places and be able to figure out, okay, how do you do the sword fight? But with magic, different because I feel like it really comes down to your world weapon, like your world building. Like with weapons, I feel like it's so about technique, and you really have to be kind of um, you just have to really be able to know what you're doing, which means it can take a lot of research because it's very, but with magic I feel like there's more wiggle room to be able to really do whatever you want with it, just because it depends on your world building. Magic is something that it depends on the author because you can do whatever you want with it because it's your world building. It's all fake, so you can be like, okay, elements are a big use for it, so you can do different elements. Or if you're more of a spellcasting world builder, then just come up with different spells. In my world, magic witches can do pretty much anything. They can do there are some spells that are long and rhymey. Then there are other spells that can be just one word in Latin, because Latin is the language for witches. So they can do one word that's Latin. So there's some Latin words in some of my magic duels. And at one point they were fighting with like elements and no words were said at all, and they were just doing whatever. But with the weapons fights, I had to really crack down on what could be done and what couldn't be. So it was more in the realm of possibility. But I also factored in the fact that Kalista is a vampire, so she has more agility and stuff than most people. So she was able to get away with a little bit more stuff. So yeah. But I love writing fight scenes. I think that's an unpopular opinion because I feel like so many people complain about fight scenes. They hate writing fight scenes. They have trouble writing fight scenes. And I love it, and I feel like it is one of my stronger suits. And Ellie said she thought I was really good at it, which means a lot because I love writing them. And I did struggle some with this fight scene just because I was like all in my head about it, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is a fight scene everyone's been anticipating, so I just wanted it to be perfect. And I did struggle more with the magic duel because I was trying to think outside the box and think of more things they could do to each other with magic, rather than the Kalista and Roxanne fight where it was like with swords or daggers and stuff, and that was easier to come up with ideas. Whereas the magic, I had to really think, okay, what could they be using from their magic to fight each other? So that was a little harder than I anticipated. I feel like I was stuck on that chapter forever. But I got it done. I figured some things a little outside the box, and then like I said, I used elements. I used them doing like one word spells with Latin to do stuff to each other. So I figured it out in the end. Your fight scenes are a lot of fun to read. Thank you. Yes, I love fight scenes, so I'm so glad that they turn out pretty good. And the fight scene I absolutely loved writing, but I feel like my favorite of the fight scenes that I wrote was the Rain and Thana fight. Not only was I anticipating it, but also I feel like it was long overdue. Like, Thana was someone I don't think he really showed up until book 2, but he was kind of a presence in book 1, and he's kind of the most terrifying villain. And I feel like it was long overdue for him to get his comeuppance. He's also probably the worst villain that I've ever written, because he is sociopathic, and that's a nice way to say what he is. So I feel, and you finally in third book really, because Rain doesn't get introduced until the second book, and they have become a fan favorite. I love Rain too, and in book 3 you get way more into them, some into their past and their friendship with Kalista, and especially their magic. Like, that becomes a big thing in like the second half of the book, about their magic and how afraid they are of their magic. And they will be in the prequel trilogy, because the prequel trilogy will be about Kalista, Rain, and Marissa. And I'm very excited to write that trilogy, because that trio will be out. That trio is just gonna be like, do not mess with them, okay? They're 3 powerful beings. And yeah, so that's gonna be a lot of fun to write. But getting to really see Rain's character finally, like, you've seen Kalista grow from the 3 books, but Rain, since they were really introduced in the second book and wasn't even supposed to become a major character like they did, I just fell in love with them, and so did readers, thankfully. But they really grew in the 3rd book because they got more confident with their own abilities, and the fact that they went after Rain or Thana the way Kalista went after Caleb was kind of like when Kalista and Caleb's fight in Vampire's Creation, I feel like was long overdue and very satisfying considering everything Caleb did to Kalista. Rain and Thana, you haven't fully seen everything Thana and about Thana and Rain's past. That will come up in the prequel trilogy, but it just feels very satisfying because of everything Then has done to not just Rain, but to Kalista and to everybody. So I absolutely loved writing that fight scene. I feel like it was very cathartic and very necessary, and it was really good to see Rain really come into their own with their powers and finally stopping Rain, Thana. Did you get your bed from an Ashley store? I used to work at one and kind of recognized LOL. Actually, this bed came from my mom's friend's daughter, I think. Yeah. Because we moved here recently and we didn't have that much. So some of my mom's friends, because we moved to the place she grew up. So a lot of her friends' families helped out with getting us some of these beds and stuff. So that was really nice. So I actually don't know where it came from. Rain is amazing. I love Rain and Kalista together. Oh my gosh, they are so fun together. I feel like they can be so sarcastic, and it's like I feel like they know each other on a level that nobody else can, and I absolutely love their dynamic. It was definitely one of my favorite things to write in the 3rd book. What are some things we have to look forward to in the prequel series and the short story collection? Ooh, good. I don't think I mentioned this, but I am writing a short story collection, which was actually inspired by Ellie because she's planning one for her B series once book 4 is out, I think. And I was like, that's interesting because there's some scenes that I would love to be able to show readers that I couldn't in the Queen of Monsters because first of all, it's already really big, and second of all, it just wouldn't really fit in the story. And so yeah, so let's see. So the prequel trilogy, I'm not sure if Caleb would be in it, because I feel like it wouldn't really make sense since Kalista was on the run from him and he didn't find her until the Realm of Monsters. But I do think she will have a few run-ins with Thana because you're going to see more about Thana and Rain's past and why Rain is the only person that scares Thana, why they are a match for each other like no other being either one of them have ever faced. You also will see a lot about how Rain came to be. I know the Banshee War was a little talked about in the Vampire's Creation, so you'll get to see that in book 1 and see how Rain and Kalista became friends, because I think it might have been mentioned in book 3 that the two of them didn't get along at first because they were like on opposite sides, but they both cared about Marissa and Marissa both cared about them, so they forced to deal with each other until they became like a family. You also get to see the trio, which is a lot of fun because this trio is a trio I've been excited to work with for a while, because obviously you've seen some Kalista and Marissa things in the novellas, but to see Kalista, Rain, and Marissa, or just Marissa and Rain, because you see how much Rain loves Marissa in the 3rd book, but you haven't actually seen Rain and Marissa interact because the prequel trilogy hasn't come out yet. So I feel like book 3 will be a lot more heartfelt once you know Rain's past with Marissa as well, how Marissa saved them. And yeah, so you have that to look forward to. You'll get to see the 3 of them can be very, especially Kalista and Rain, can be very snippy. So you'll get some teasing banter, lots of friendship moments, some good battles because Thana will be there. You'll also get to see kind of Ayana's downfall. I hope to put Ayana's downfall in the trilogy so you can see it outright, and see like how she got from Marissa's daughter was just so like how she just ended up turning from this group to Clarissa. And I was also wanted to have some flashbacks um, of Marissa's life before, because I know Marissa's life was also mentioned a little bit in the Queen of Monsters about how her family was like evil, but she didn't agree with it, and then she meets Elijah, and they kind of had this forbidden romance because their families hate each other because Elijah's family's good, Marissa's family's evil. Marissa doesn't want to be evil, but they end up being kind of sworn enemies. Like they weren't allowed, so it's kind of this forbidden lovers aspect, and I do want to show some flashbacks of that because by the time because the trilogy takes place after the novellas, and in the novellas, obviously, Marissa's already married to Elijah and has 2 kids. So I want in the trilogy to see some flashbacks of Marissa's life because I feel like we've heard a little bit of it from the Queen of Monsters and the novellas, but that's it. And I would like to get a little bit more into her life as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. As for the short story collection, when I came up with this idea, the first thing that came to mind was I really wanted a scene with Kalisa meeting Roxanne's family, and I was like, okay, I wanna write that, and that's why I decided to do the short story collection. I've already written a few collections, and now I'm on the one where Kalista meets Roxanne's family because it's not the first story collection. There's a few others I wanted to do first, but in this one, I've started it, but I haven't finished that one. So I'm very excited for this one because I think it'll be very interesting to see Kalista meet Roxanne's family because she never really had that with any partner previous, and everyone knows, if you've read the novellas, you know the history with Joan, so she couldn't exactly meet Joan's father because, during the times, and he was very homophobic and everything, so she couldn't really do that. But now she's meeting Roxanne's family, and since Roxanne didn't actually realize she was bisexual until she came to the Realm of Monsters and met Kalista, they don't even know she's bisexual yet because she hasn't had time to go visit them since she's been here, since so much craziness happened. So I definitely want to showcase that and show Roxanne's nervousness because she can be very nervous and klutzy, and yeah, so I love all your books. Your characters are easy to love and or hate. Thank you. Does your 3rd book come out today? Yes. The ebook comes out today. It was originally supposed to be the 15th, but I changed it. The paperback wouldn't let me change it, so the paperback's still coming out tomorrow. But the ebook is out today, which means it's probably on KU today as well. I adore Kalista and Roxanne. Oh, thank you. They were a lot of fun to write. I feel like they balance each other out because they're so opposite. But at the same time, something Ellie mentioned was that Roxanne does have some traits of Joan, like she's brave, even though she doesn't realize it sometimes, because she went with them when she didn't have to. So she has this braveness and fierceness that's kind of masked with her awkwardness and klutziness. So it's kind of hard to see that at first. And something Ellie mentioned, she was like, Kalista has a type, and she kind of does. Kalista meeting Roxanne's family would be so great. Yeah, I love it because you don't really see Kalista nervous that much. But like I said, this is the first time Kalista gets to meet Roxanne's family, so she's going to be very nervous because she's never met one of her partner's families before. So she's very nervous about that. Congrats. So happy for you. Thank you. But yeah, so I have the short stories I think I already wrote was Josiah and Kai adopting because it's mentioned in the Queen of Monsters, but because so many other stuff is going on, I originally was gonna show that, but I was like, so much is going on, I ended up having to cut that story with them actually finally adopting. So I definitely wanted to add that in the short story collection. I also have Jeremy proposing to Isabella, and little things like that, just little cute little things for the characters to see their story continue a little bit after the Queen of Monsters. So is this the last book for the Realm of Monsters? For the trilogy, yes. I am working on a short story collection just to see little cute things like that, which was actually inspired to me by Ellie. And then there will be eventually a prequel trilogy where you get to see which will take place after the novellas with Kalista, Rain, and Marissa. But that's going to be a little while before I work on that, just because I want to work on my Scooby-Doo trilogy retelling, as well as my skeleton series that I've been long anticipating. So I'm taking a little break from that series, but I do hope to get that out eventually, because I know that some people are looking forward to seeing Kalista, Rain, and Marissa all together on page. This is your longest series so far, right? Yes. Because there's a trilogy, there's going to be another trilogy, there's a novella series. So yeah, this book is probably going to, I have another series planned that's going to be very long, but I don't even think it's going to be as long as this one. So this is probably going to be my longest series. I doubt I'll come up with another series that turns out to be this long, because this one is already, once I do that other trilogy, is probably going to be like 16 books. So, but this, The Queen of Monsters, has also become my official longest book I've written, because the Witch of Light, which was a sequel to Curse's Light, was 765 pages, I think, somewhere around this one, and this one was a little over 800. So this is my new longest book written. Cheers for me. What was your favorite characters in this book? Let's see. Like I said earlier, I absolutely love Kalista. She is definitely one of my favorite characters. I also absolutely love Rain. They are so fun. They are wise and kind and loyal. They're also like, they kind of become like the therapist friend, I feel like. And I absolutely love them. And I love Henry. He is such a sweetheart, and he's so, like, I love writing him. Like, he's just so different. But in this book, I loved his arc too, because he's so tired of everyone kind of like treating him like a baby, just because he's like the baby of the family. And he kind of finally goes off and is like, okay, it's time for me to be able to, do this and this without everyone worrying about me. Like, I am an adult. I can do this stuff. I don't need everyone always worrying about me just because I'm a little different. And I just love that. Like, I love when he finally goes off, because he's just had enough, and you do not see him go off enough. So yeah, I love him, and I loved his arc in this story. Never say never. True. You never know what happens. I thought I was done with my... I knew that there was going to be another Curse's Light duology, just because as soon as I finished The Witch of Light, I knew eventually I wanted to write one where Andrea is the main character, because I end up loving her a lot more than I thought I would. So there's going to be a sequel duology to that. But I honestly thought my Jasmine Press series was done. But now there's going to be another book. It might just be one, but I have a hard time writing standalones, so it might turn into a duology or a trilogy. It really depends. But it's going to be about Jasmine's daughter. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Woot! Longest book. Yes. Like, by the time I got halfway, I was like, oh my gosh, there's still so much that's going to happen. This is going to be a very, very long book. And because apparently paperbacks can only be like 828 pages. And this book was originally over 870, I think. So I ended up having to shrink it to make it for paperback. So it was originally even longer. I had to like minimize the words and stuff, because I usually write with kind of bigger text. But I had to minimize the text font and stuff. The hardcover can only be like 500 pages, so I haven't even been able to make a hardcover of it yet. My mom said I could just split it in half, but I didn't know how well it would work. So let me know if you think that's a good idea. Split it in half and then make a hardcover, and then just make another hardcover for the second part. I don't know, but yeah, because apparently there can only be a minimum, so I had to minimize it. I was able to for the paperback, but haven't been able to for the hardcover, just because it'll be a lot harder to minimize from 800 to 500. I don't even know how I would do that. The individual character arcs are so awesome to see. Do you know where the characters are going to end up before you start writing? Sometimes. Like, I always knew that what Kalisa's arc was kind of going to be like finally letting people in, showing her softer side. I always kind of knew that, because that was always like planned, especially with knowing her dark past and knowing how her relationship with Roxanne was going to end. But like other characters, like Henry's, I did not know he was gonna have this arc in this book. And then with Roxanne is another character arc. I loved writing this book. I didn't know she was going to have this arc in the book, but she became so confident and she started fighting back, pushing back, and not being walked all over. And she became a lot more stern and fierce and confident, and I absolutely loved writing her arc. One of my other favorite parts of writing this book, which I haven't mentioned yet, was the undercover storyline. It was so fun because I feel like that was also a big part of her arc, and it was so fun to write. And then, like I said, Monster Marigny was one of my favorite chapters. I was not expecting there to be a heist in that chapter, but that ended up happening. But I am not complaining because it was a lot of fun to write. And I feel like this book also is pretty emotional, like what happened during the heist. Ellie, I think, is the only person here who's read it so far, and she knows what happened in the heist and why it was so emotional. And then having the sword from the novella, Tartarus and the Sword, make a return, knowing the impact it has on Kalista with what happened in Tartarus and the Sword. So, like, I love little callbacks to the novellas because it's just so fun to have, because like the novellas are part of Kalista's past, so sometimes they make little comebacks, and I was not expecting the sword to make a comeback, but then the sword basically told me it wanted to come back, so I was like, okay, why not? I didn't know. I had no choice with that. The sword just decided that it was not done. Heist. Yes, the heist was a lot of fun to write. Oh my god, the sword. Yes, the sword made a comeback, and the sword just decided that it was not done, and it wanted to hurt Kalista even more by controlling Roxanne. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah. And I feel like it just impacts it more because Dana wouldn't know the impact the sword had. Ayanna sent Dana to go retrieve the sword because Ayanna would be one of the few people that knew what happened in Tartarus because she was a kid who would overhear all of Kalista telling Marissa her adventures with Joan. And I feel like that's just hits because the fact that Ayanna would betray Kalista. And another reason why I'm so excited for the prequel is because in the third book you find out that Ayanna used to be close to Raid. So it actually hurt Raid a lot more than Kalista because Kalista never had that connection with Ayanna that Rain did. So seeing their connection in the book is just gonna make the Queen of Monsters hit just that much harder. For the fans, have you ever thought of making merchandise for your books? Ooh, yes. Merchandise would be so cool, but I have no idea where to even start with that, to be honest. One thing I have thought of, because I really wanted to make a drawing of Jasmine's necklace in the Jasmine Press series, which I was thinking about the other day, but I suck at drawing, and I tried drawing that once, like years and years ago, but I didn't think it turned out very well. Like, I have a very specific image for it, and I just don't think I can make it look good on page because I can't draw. But yes, I think merchandise would be a lot of fun, like being able to make Jasmine's necklace to sell. Like, I think that would be so cool. And like being able to make, like, people like buy swords, you know. My mom's had some like dragon related swords, and my sister's boyfriend collects swords, so to be able to make the sword from Tartarus and the Sword for people to buy, that would be cool. And other things like that. I know I already have bookmarks planned, which I'm trying to perfect a little bit better. But other than that, yeah, I think merchandise would be so cool. Maybe some articles of clothing with some quotes. And yeah, I think merchandise would be a lot of fun. I'll have to come up with some more ideas because I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But if you guys have any ideas, definitely let me know because I'm so up for it if I can figure out how to make some of this because I think it'll be really cool. Merchandise. Yes! You'll probably be my top buyer. The characters always take their own path after you start writing. Cough, cough, Kate Killer. Yes, 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 I know. Her and my mom still cannot get over Kate. I I'm honestly surprised. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Kate was a great character, but I was not expecting for people to be this upset with her death. I wasn't. I'm not gonna lie. I was not expecting her death to hit readers as hard as it has. But I don't know. So yeah, her death has hit a lot more than I had considered. But I don't know. Maybe that just means that I wrote it really well. I know my mom has said that the way it was written is why it hit so hard. Thank you. Yes, her death was upsetting. Or the dagger that Joan gives Kalista. Ooh, that's a good idea. Yeah. It is not the character as much as the way she was killed in the wording you used. Yeah. Totally agree, it's the wording. Yeah, I kind of said like the knife went in her like butter, and my mom cannot get over that phrasing. But she was also like a minor character, and I feel like people liked her a lot more than I was expecting. But I'm kind of glad people liked her because she was a good character, and I feel like she really helped Jasmine when Jasmine didn't really have anybody. So I'm glad that people ended up really liking her and being upset that she died because her death was a travesty. You can also use the fan art you received for merch. That's true. That's true. Alyssa had drawn a couple of my characters, and Ellie had drawn a couple of my characters. So yeah, I could like make like posters and stuff with that. That would be cool. Yeah, the idea of having merchandise does sound like really cool. Um, like Jasmine's necklace, being able to actually buy that, and um, yeah, I really like that idea. I have to come up with more ideas. If you guys have any more questions, you can ask me about my books, my universe, my previous books, upcoming books, my writing, anything. I'm willing to answer any questions you guys have. I can totally help you draw out and figure how to make merch possible. Thanks. How many more projects and or books do you have in store in the future? Oh, that's hard. That's hard because let's see. I have my idea for another Jasmine Press book with Jasmine's daughter. I have a sequel duology for The Curse's Life, plus a prequel trilogy that's going to take place after the novellas for the Realm Monsters. Then I have my Scooby-Doo retelling. I have my Skeleton series, which is going to be 6 books that, as of right now, because you never know with me, I always come up with more and more ideas. Like, my brain just will not shut off. Then I have this Witch Coven series I'm very excited for that I want to work on after the Skeleton series. That's going to be 10 books, I think. We'll see. And then I feel like I have a couple other ideas that I'm a little unsure of right now. There's another one that's going to have to do with like the elements that I've thought of, and another one that has to do with like 2 different gangs. And yes, there's still going to be magic involved because I don't think I can write anything without any sort of semblance of magic. I have so many ideas. It's really hard. But as of right now, the books that I'm definitely working on, besides I have the ones for the series I've already started, plus I have the Scooby-Doo retelling, the Skeleton series, and the Witch Coven series. Those are the ones that are definitely happening as of right now, and I'm very excited for them. I know the Skeleton series and the Witch Coven series I have been planning for a very long time. And I'm very excited to finally be able to. And I was trying to decide which one I wanted to work on next. And I think I decided on the skeleton one for 2 reasons. One, there's hardly anything about skeletons. Skeletons are very underrated. I love skeletons. You hardly see skeletons when it comes to fantasy TV or books or anything, and also because it is gonna be not as long as the Witch Coven series, so I decided to work on that first and then work on the Witch Coven series after. Maybe after my Skeleton series, I can finish my books I planned for my ongoing series, and then I can focus on the Witch Coven series just because it's gonna be very long. The last novella with all who die in the underworld are other ones that are minor but so impactful. Yeah, the last novella definitely hit harder than I expected. Okay, I was not like when I first like I always knew that the last novella was going to be in the underworld just because in the very first book when it mentions Joan's death, it mentioned that Cleesa was in the underworld. I didn't get to specifics about why she was there because at that point I didn't even know I was going to write a novella series. So by the time I got to the 10th novella, I was like, okay, now I have to really figure out why the heck she's down there in the first place, and it became. I also knew that Medusa was there because I did mention in the Realm Monsters that she was there because of Medusa. But like I said, I didn't get too into specifics. I just mentioned it had something to do with Medusa. And so I had to figure out with what I already knew and figure out with, okay, so why is she going after Medusa? And then it turned into this whole thing that turned out very emotional and impactful. Other than Joan's death and the symbolism, like one scene that I was very happy with that I couldn't wait for Ellie to read about was when Joan was being taken away and she looked at the white rose. Like I don't know why, but I just really like that scene. I feel like it was impactful. But other than like that and Joan's death, I feel like the most impactful scene. I feel like there was a lot of impactful scenes in that one, but I feel like it was so emotional for Helen to be thrown into the river just because I feel like I've already established that they went through a lot and there was a lot of like themes about survivors in that one and how a lot of the times the survivors suffer more than their captor or their assaulters because the assaulters hardly ever get any sort of punishment for what they go through, and for Helen to end up dying like that again or like being destroyed in a sense, it was just very upsetting, and that novella was actually very emotional, and I wanted to write it well just because it was very heavy topics that I was discussing, and it was also because I had considered before about Kalisa because I was like, okay, she was held prisoner for at least a couple centuries by Caleb, and I was like, do I want like I had considered the idea of her having been assaulted before. I was like, he's a mortal man, and most mortal men would not go without doing that. Um, especially since he was already so sociopathic to begin with. So, but I never actually planned on mentioning it until this novella ended up being about survivors. So she ended up kind of having an understanding with Medusa and Odysseus and Helen and I can't remember her name now, but Hercules' mother, because she was a big character in that last novella. I can't remember her name now, but yeah, because they all are victims, and Calista didn't want to be help Hades with destroying them when they had went through hell. But I also drew a line where Calista had this conversation with Medusa about the fact that, yeah, they're similar in some ways because they've both been through hell. But at the same time, Calista had in the past hurt people out of anger and hurt. And she realized over the years that just because she's in pain doesn't mean she has the right to inflict pain on people who have never even hurt her. And so it showed that the differences between them as well, because Medusa still can't get over her own pain and was trying to hurt others. So yeah, that novella was very, very emotional. How many of your series are connected to the same world? I saw a question. This was a while ago, but I saw a question. It had something to do with like what kind of like fan fiction would be interesting if you saw somebody write fan fiction about your books. What fan fiction do you think would be interesting? And I did come up with this idea for like a Calista and Roxanne AU, with Calista as a knight and Roxanne as a princess. But my other idea was the fact that a lot of my series so far have to do with portals. Like my first series has to do with portals as well as this series. And the idea that each series could actually be in the same world, just in different realms, did cross my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, the idea of somebody writing fan fiction of them stepping through portals and meeting characters from different series of my books, I thought that would be interesting, because I feel like with the fact that I tend to write portals a lot, apparently that became a thing, that all of my books could technically be in the same world. They're just the characters are just in different realms. So I thought that would be fun. Like when Jasmine goes to a portal in the second book, she went to our world. That's also where Kalisa and her group went to in Realm Monsters. So they're both from different realms. And then Curse's Light could technically be in another different realm. And I just thought that's an interesting idea, that all my books could technically be in the same world, just different realms. So that thought did cross my mind. The White Rose. Yes, I have now made Ellie unable to see white roses without thinking about Jolista. She sent me a picture of a white rose that she found that made her think of Jolista. So I'm glad that I made you only think of Jolista with white roses. My life, I have finally accomplished everything. Again, the writing of when she goes into the river, but especially Khaleesi's reaction, and she tried so hard to save them too. Yeah, it was definitely symbolic and definitely upsetting, because Khaleesi tried so hard to reach her, but failed in the end, and she was so close to saving her. And yeah, very, very upsetting. Like that novella got really real and really emotional, and just so, like, I don't think I've ever written anything so heartbreaking in my life, honestly, and I don't think I ever will. When Glista, who hides her feelings, it impacted me to see her reaction to Joan's death. Yes, that was upsetting. And one thing Ellie mentioned that she liked that I did was I'm big on showing these final battles, these big battles. But one thing I did when the entire last novella was mostly battles. Joan and Khaleesi were all both in their separate battles. But when Joan finally died, Khaleesi it didn't show her, like, I didn't show the fight that much. I just basically was like, Khaleesi ran, killed all these men. I didn't say it like that. I don't remember how I phrased it, something, but it was something simple that lasted just 2 sentences at most. And Ellie said she really liked that I did that, because it showed that the important part of this scene isn't the battle, it's Khaleesi's grief. And so that made me really happy that was shown through, because I feel like it was important, because I write battles all the time. This entire book was about battles, but the point of this scene wasn't about the battle. It was about Khaleesi's grief and the fact that she just lost the love of her life. AUs. Yeah, that would be fun. Which of your 2 characters from different series would you enjoy meeting? Ooh, good question. That's a really good question. That's a really hard question, though. Like, there's like so many. I did think of an idea with the Kalista, Skylar, and Jasmine meeting. Like, that's 3, not 2, but like the MCs joining. Because Kalisa's just on a whole other level than the 2 of them. I don't think she'll like them very much. But I do like the idea of, this just came to me, but Kalista and Andrea from The Curse's Light. And even though I feel like they are very different, I feel like in the first book, Curse's Light book, you didn't get to see Andrea very much. You get to see her more in the second book. And one chapter that really stood out for me was, I forgot what the chapter was called, but she basically goes off on everybody. And you see just how much of a feminist she is and how she's calling out men, and it's such a good powerful chapter. And I think even though they're very different, I feel like they have some of the same views on things, and I feel like they would connect through that. Like Lisa mentioned that one time about wanting to just go off and hunt, evil men or something. I don't remember exactly how she phrased it. And I feel like Andrea would be kind of on board with that. So I feel like that would be cool. They could form a little duo there. I would like to see your characters from different books meet up and work together. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. I feel like they all can be so different, and but I feel like they all have their ways of doing it, and to see it's happening, like you see how powerful Jasmine is, how powerful Skylar is, and Kalista. And I feel like the idea of them like fighting together, they have like one big threat, and then fighting together with their different styles and different personalities could be such a cool fight. So yeah, that idea is actually really interesting, and now I kind of want to see Kalisa and Andrea just go killing evil men. I love that too. Yeah, I think that would be so interesting. Like I never really thought about that before, but and maybe they can like show each other their different fights and different abilities, and I feel like it could be such a cool team up. Which book series is your favorite and why? Which character other than the main character that is your favorite? Ooh, other than the main character. Good question. Let me see. Book series that I've read so far. I really like the Realm of Monsters. Maybe it's because I've written so many books in this universe. I love all my series. Obviously, I wrote them and I'm very happy with them. But the Realm of Monsters, like the world building was so extravagant, and like the realm itself was so fun to write. All the details, whereas where they live, the things they drive, like they drive floating carriages, but I think is so cool. They live in medieval castles, and the food was so different. That was one of the hardest world building things I've ever had to write. But the food is just so different and out of this world, and it was so fun to write. Hard, but fun. And so I just think the world itself is so cool and so different. And the idea of a world that, well, kind of like Halloween Town. For any of you who've seen Halloween Town, I honestly didn't realize the similarities with my series and Halloween Town until my mom actually brought it up. But the idea of them like just monsters walking down the street, living like humans do in the mortal realm, like that's such a cool concept. And I absolutely love it. Favorite character, I love Rain. They have become one of my favorite characters. They're so fun, so sassy, so witty, so sarcastic, but also so kind, so loyal, always there for people. And that is just that's so fun. Um, and I love writing them. I feel like they are a great friend, and I think they are so powerful. And their power was one of my favorite things to write too, especially since I feel like in the second book you don't see it that much except for a little bit towards the end when they were fighting the vampires, I think, and Thana. I think that was one of the only times you saw their power in that book, other than the storytelling magic they did, which Ellie has stated that she loved. And then in the third book, you see their magic a lot, actually. And it was really interesting to write and a lot of fun to show how powerful they are, especially since I've never actually written Banshees before. And it was so cool to have a Banshee main character because I feel like Banshees are always perceived differently. And I really love to show my take on Banshees. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love your Jasmine Press series. Have you ever thought about expanding that, maybe making a novella for it? So I do actually have a book planned for Jasmine Press. I mentioned I have the prequel trilogy planned for the Realm Monsters. I have sequel duology planned for the Crystal Light following Andrea, but I do have another book for Jasmine Perez, which I was not expecting Jasmine Perez to be a fan favorite, but I know that you as well as Porcelain both love that series of mine. So, and I'm a little surprised just because it is my first series, so it's definitely not my best, but I do love the story behind it. Obviously, I wrote it, so I'm glad that you ended up liking it so much. But I do have a book. I originally was thinking about making it a standalone. I don't know if it's going to end up being a standalone because I have a hard time writing standalones. I just can't. Like, I'm trying my hardest to make sure my Scooby-Doo retelling is a standalone, but that is a difficult feat, at least for me. But it's going to be following Jasmine's daughter. She has like 4 kids, and it's actually going to be following her youngest. And it's going to be called, what did I call it? What did I call it? I think it was the Princess and the Assassin, or the Princess's Assassin, something like that. I think it was the Princess and the Assassin, because there's an assassin going after her. And yes, it is a little sapphic. The assassin is female. It's kind of going to be this enemies to lovers / forbidden thing because they do fall in love. But I have some cool ideas for it that I'm very excited for. And yeah, so I'm very excited to write that one. I feel like it will be really cool. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be a standalone. It might end up being a duology or even a trilogy because I have a hard time writing standalones. I do not think I can write those. I'm surprised I was able to write the novellas. Then again, I end up making 10 of them, so maybe that's why, because I just couldn't stop at one. Ooh, the Princess Assassin sounds like so much fun. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun to write. The idea of like an assassin going after a princess, and then they kind of get away from the castle, and then they're kind of like away. But there's also going to be this whole other element to it besides the assassin, because there's going like it follows obviously the princess and the assassin, but you find out that there's a prophecy following her, and everyone, her family, friends, everyone was keeping it a secret from her. So she feels like everything is, she doesn't know what she believes anymore. And it's kind of like one of those things where she's like, she could either destroy the world or save it. And she's afraid that she's going to destroy the world. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have planned for us so far. I think I did start it, but I'm only a couple chapters into it. And so, yeah. Why is it that you prefer a series over a standalone? So that is because I feel like there's just so much more to a series. I feel like you stay with the characters longer, the world longer, the storyline is more expansive because there's more books in it. And it's why I prefer TV shows over movies. Like, yeah, I like movies and I will watch movies, but at the same time, I prefer to watch series because there's just so much more to the TV show than there is to movies. Even a franchise, like, there could be like 7 movies in the franchise, and there's still just so much more to the series than there is to the franchise. So I just feel like, yeah, I just prefer series because I feel like there's just so much more to it, and you get to stay with these characters you love in this world that you love longer. And for me, I always have a hard time. Like, I always have so many ideas that I have a hard time sticking to one book. Like, so many ideas are flooding my brain. I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And either write a 1,000-page book or split it so that it's both 500. Like, that's basically where I am. But yeah, so I write a lot of series, and I think the only standalone I'm trying to make, no promises, is the Scooby-Doo retelling. Just because I really want that to be a standalone, but I'm not sure how well that's going. um, but I'm trying my hardest to make sure that's a standalone. It might be a long book, but it's going. I'm still wanting it to be a standalone. So we'll see how that goes. But the Queen of Monsters is, how long is it? It's like 800 pages. So it managed to be really long. But I feel like I'm just very happy with how it turned out. I mean, I feel like there's a lot that has to do with plot, but there's also a lot that has to do with the characters, because I feel like it was very important to have these character arcs. Like Henry's character arc was more like on the side. It was like a side thing. I feel like Roxanne's character arc was kind of front and center, especially with her undercover storyline. Um, so yeah. Congratulations on your latest release. Thank you. I'm so happy. How do you decide where to end one book and start another when writing a series? Ooh, that's such a good question. Um, and I, not gonna lie, I tend to like to write cliffhangers. I did it for my novellas. I feel like each novella was its own story, even though they all still connect. But with most series, I tend to leave them off at cliffhangers. And I try to think of like a good way to end that book. Um, and I feel like it's always different. Like my Jazz and Press series, the end, there was actually like a year from book 1 to book 2 because she had been trapped in the other realm for an entire year. But I feel like most of the time is you see them like right after the end of book 1. Like I feel like that's what happened in the Realm of Monsters, and that's what happened in The Curse's Light as well. Or The Curse's Light might have been at least a couple weeks or something, because I think Skylar was in a coma after getting shot, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I worked on that one. So, yeah. But I feel like like I said, I like to do cliffhangers, and I think it can be hard to figure out, okay, where do I stop and where do I start again? But I usually come up with a big thing that happens, like a final fight or something in the book, and something bad happening to end that book. Like in my first Jazz and Press book, like Jenny was stabbed, Lucas took Jasmine through the portal, and then I think you saw like it showed a year later, and then showed a little insight to what was happening to Jasmine after a year. But the Realm Monsters, I think the Realm Monsters was a little similar, because I think Isabella got stabbed at the end of the Realm Monsters. She survives just like Jenny did, but and then Skylar also got shot in the Curse's Light. Apparently, that is a theme that I just now realized I do, because that was like the end of book 1 of each, and I did not realize I do that. And then the Vampire's Creation ended with Khaleesi actually killed Caleb. And then they went back to the realm thinking things were going to be better, only for the realm to be taken over. And I feel like that was a good place to start that, because I knew that the third book was going to be about the monster realm, and to be about them trying to save their home from an invader. Because for those of you that do not know, the Realm Monsters was actually the first book I ever wrote when I was in high school, but I actually lost. I was writing on paper back then because I didn't have a laptop, and I lost it. But I still remembered it, so I decided to rewrite it after all those years. But the original draft was actually really different. It was still going to be like about monsters, and I still knew the main character was going to be a vampire, because I've always liked vampires. But it was actually going to be them in college, and it was the reason why when I promote this book, I say Monster High meets Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson because of all the Greek mythology. Monster High because my original idea for that had more to do with Monster High, with the ideas of Monster High, with the fact that they're in a college and they're monsters. So it's like a monstery college. So there's dorm rooms and stuff. And I actually had an idea that was a little similar to the first one, Fright On. so this was kind of my idea, but maybe it was half fan fiction at the time because I didn't realize how similar my story was to Fright On, which was one of the first Monster High movies in G1, where the principal got kidnapped and the person was basically shapeshifting into her so that nobody knew. So like I took that idea and still had it, except this time she wasn't pretending to be Astoria. She was still letting everyone know she was Ayana. She just took over. Instead of kidnapping Astoria, she killed Astoria. So yeah, I just kind of took what I remember from my story and changed it. I'm very happy with how it is now. I like it better than how it was in the original draft. But yeah, it was very Monster High-esque, so yeah. Love all these questions. Me too. When you were writing about Greek mythology, do you research it or do you just know? Have you already known about it? So I feel like there are some things I knew because I've always liked Greek mythology. So I feel like there is some things I knew about it. But there was stuff, and there was some stuff that even though I knew some, I wanted to really be able to know it enough to write about it. So I did more research. I know I did. I feel like I did a lot of research in this series more than any other because of all the mythology I used, especially with in the novellas I used French mythology, which I knew nothing about French mythology. So I had to figure out, okay, who are the gods in French mythology? What are their powers? And yeah, so that was a lot hard. But Greek mythology, I feel like there was some stuff I knew, but I feel like there was some stuff that even though I knew a little about it, I wanted to make sure that I knew enough to write about it. Like with everything that I wrote about in the 10th novella, I wanted to make sure I got things right about Odysseus and Helen and stuff. Because obviously I knew the stories, but I didn't know if I knew them well enough to really write their stories well. Same with Medusa. I feel like everyone knows about Medusa, and I was like, okay, do I know enough about her or should I research her just in case? So I did do some research and just to make sure that I was writing their stories well. So yeah. You tend to surprise me. I thought Jenny was dead. You always tend to surprise me when I found out a while later that she was still alive. Yeah, so that I did on purpose. So you don't actually find out that Jenny was alive until like chapter 10 of the second book. And they talked about her a couple times, but I specifically on purpose made it kind of sketchy. Like they didn't flat out say she was dead or alive, but they acted like they would say little things like I miss Jenny, and it's because Jenny was in a coma, but it made it sound like she was dead because I didn't say that she was alive or that she was in a coma. And I did that on purpose because I like to terrorize readers, but I feel like all authors do. It is a joy for us. I still remember, okay, with after I published my very first book, my mom immediately bought it to read it. I worked across the street at the time from where we lived. So I came home from work and there was my mom glaring at me, yelling at me for killing Jenny. Like she was just so angry. She was like, "How dare you kill Jenny?" And I just walked in the door and I had no idea what was going on. So yeah, I still have that memory because I feel like I was bombarded right after I got out of work. But The Queen of Monsters is finally published. 800 pages. It took me a stinking year to write this book. I feel like it took me longer to write this book than any other book, but to be fair, I was kind of on and off with this book just because I kept working on my novellas. So there is that. But I'm so happy with how it turned out. I'm so happy with some of the chapters I wrote, and I am so happy that it's finally published and that the main trilogy in the series is finally completed. I feel like I've been waiting forever for that. Let me know if you guys have any more questions for me. But yeah, I loved writing this series, and honestly, it is a little sad, even though I will eventually be coming back to this universe because I do still have the short story collection and the prequel trilogy to write. I'm going to be taking a break for it for at least a little bit to work on the retelling as well as the skeleton series, and it feels kind of sad because like I've been on the series for so long. Like this series probably at least a couple years, if not like 2-3 years. I've been working on this series, and it feels kind of upsetting that I am done with this series and I won't be in this world at least for a little while. And it just feels so surreal because I feel like I've been in this world for so long with these characters for so long, and now I'm done with it for now at least. And then when I do finish the prequel trilogy, I'll be done with it for good. Maybe that's part of the reason why I'm taking a break from it. I don't want to be done with this series, but also I just really want to work on my skeleton series. I'm jumping in now. Congrats, Johara. Congrats on your third full books in the series. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lee. I'm so happy. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I loved writing this world and this series. And I knew that when I released this book, I was going to have a release party like this just because it's been so long since I've worked on this series. And I've been anticipating book 3, and I know other people have. So it's just so amazing to be able to get it out and publish it. For those of you that have read all of my books, which one of my books is your favorite? I'm very curious. Because I feel like I hear people say Jasmine Prez. I've heard people say Realm Monsters. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say Curses Light, though. Is there a particular twist on a monster magical creature you've enjoyed the most? Ooh, good question. That's hard. Like I said, I really enjoyed writing a Banshee. I feel like I've seen them being done differently. I've seen them on Charmed where they don't talk; they literally just scream and they make people's eyes bleed. Then there's a Banshee on Monster High, which is considered like a ghost in a way, and they are telepathic. So I just seen them so many different ways, and it was so interesting to write my take on them. And so yeah, I think Banshees, I just really enjoyed writing what I thought Banshee was, like the fact that, you know, they're very powerful, their scream and stuff, and just show, because I feel like Brain is definitely one of the most powerful characters I've ever written. I also thought writing Thana was very interesting. They were so creepy, and he is so powerful as well, and necromancers are cool in a way. It was just so interesting to see, and especially with how different they are, but how powerful they both are. And it was so interesting to see them interact, and the different takes I had on them was a lot of fun. When did you get the writing bug? Where do you advertise your books? Where can one read or buy? Awesome question. So I usually advertise on social media. I advertise a lot on Twitter, Blue Sky. I I think my name on both is author Johara Harper, and my profile picture is just a picture of me. So there's that. And I also have an author group on Facebook called Author Johara Harper. You can request to join, and I do advertise my books on there as well, talk about my writing, my books, whatever. And Instagram some. I do have my personal Instagram, but then I have Instagram just for my writing. I think my name on there is just Johara Harper as well. And then I have been on Threads lately as well, advertising a little bit on there. I don't use Threads and Instagram as much as the others, but I still do use them. And then you can read and buy my books on Amazon. Most of them have ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And they're also on KU. I don't know how much longer they'll be on KU. I was thinking about trying to see about other places to publish my books, because you can only have your books on KU if they're only on Amazon. So they might be taken off. Not right away, though, as of right now, because I haven't even decided. I'm still trying to see what else is out there for me to even publish my books on. But yeah. I know you write witches and vampires a lot. Is there any other magical creature that you are interested in exploring? Great question. Witches and vampires are definitely two of my favorites. I've gotten really into skeletons last few years, and I know that this series I'm working on, my skeleton series, I'm very excited to really explore skeletons, and they're very different because, like, I feel like they're just very different to write about, because like everybody has skeletons inside them, and it's just really interesting to see like skeletons roaming around and see what kind of things they can do. And yeah, so I'm very excited for that, because we don't get skeletons like ever. Like, it's very hard to find skeletons, and I love skeletons, so I'm very excited for that. I don't know what else I'm excited for. I feel like I wrote a lot of different monsters in my Monster Realm book, so I don't know what else I would really be excited to write. But yeah, so I'm very excited for skeletons. So my skeleton series, for those of you that I don't know how much I've talked about them. I am talking about them more now that the Queen of Monsters is out. So you'll see more things about me talking about it on social media. But basically, Anastasia has been, because apparently I really like talking back about like centuries later. So Anastasia, even though it's based today, Anastasia died several centuries ago, and she was a queen, or princess technically. She was going to become queen, and she was being forced to marry this guy, and he ends up killing her on his wedding day, their wedding day, so that he can rule both countries without her. And now he is the Grim Reaper, and she has this whole skeleton rebellion trying to fight him, because he wants to turn the entire world into his skeleton graveyard. So, but there's actually two main characters in this one, Anastasia and Vivian. And Vivian is a human who gets kind of wrapped up in all of this. So yeah, and there's a twist in there that I'm really excited that I don't think that people will see, but that's probably not going to be for a couple books, because I have a lot planned for the series. But and it's also in first person point of view, and there's going to be like no romance in this book, like at all. Vivian is Arrow Ace, and Anastasia is a lesbian, but she's also a skeleton. And part of the reason why Mitchell, who is her ex-husband or whatever that killed her on their wedding day, he caught her like with a girl, and then that gave him grounds to murder her. So yeah, so that he could, get away with it and still remain king. So yeah. And Your skeleton book sounds amazing. Thank you. I'm very excited for it. I have a lot of things planned, and I have some outlines for it, but I haven't really worked on this book in so long because it was technically started, but I put everything I had on hold because I wanted to focus on the books that I already started. So I want to look at my outlines and figure out what I need to do to continue this book. So yeah. And I also have my Wish Coven series that I'm excited for, that I'm pretty sure is going to be around 10 books. And basically, there's Ruby, who's centuries old, because apparently that's a theme in all my books at this point. But she's centuries old. It's still based in today, but she's centuries old, and she's a witch. And then she meets Melinda, who's the other main character, who's also a witch. She, on the other hand, is only 15, I think, in the first book, maybe 16. I don't remember how old she's supposed to be. But she was raised by humans, and only her two best friends know that she even has magic, and she's trying to hide it, but she can't, because the more her powers become, the more she doesn't practice, the more her powers become wild and unpredictable, and she keeps getting close to being caught, and she doesn't want anyone to know that she's a witch, especially because her family, her parents, are witch hunters. So it's this huge secret, but Ruby finds her. She's kind of likes humans. She's intrigued by them, even though most witches despise humans. So she finds her and starts helping her practice. But Melinda doesn't exactly like Ruby. Melinda wants to keep living in her human world. She doesn't even want to be a witch. But they have this huge connection. And no, it is not romantic. I feel like a lot of people are gonna think, oh, it's gonna be romantic. No, that is not the direction this book is gonna take. So yeah. But that one will have some romance. It's just going to be on the side because the main relationship, even though it's not a romantic relationship, is going to be between Ruby and Melinda. And there is a slow burn romance that I'm actually very excited to write, though, because I feel like it's going to take a long time for them to get anywhere. But I love a good slow burn, and we don't get enough slow burns. So I'm very excited for that book as well. I always appreciate your focus on friendship and found family. Thank you. Yes, that's very important to me. I feel like that is never talked about enough. And don't get me wrong, my books do tend to have romance, except for the skeleton series, but it's usually on the side. And it's because yes, romance is a part of life for a lot of people, but also it's overrated in my opinion. I mean, I feel like there's just so much focus on romance. And it's yeah, romance can be great if you're into romance. Me personally, I'm aro, so not really. And I think that friendships and family relationships is just as important. And the Royal Monsters, yes, there's some romance, but also one of Calista's most important relationships in the book is Rain. And the commies as well. Marissa, Isabella, Henry, her relationship with them is very important. And yes, her relationship with Roxanne is important, but I feel like not as important, if that makes sense. So yeah. And in my skeleton series, there's not going to be any romance at all. It's just going to be Anastasia and Vivian and Xander and Tyra. They all kind of formed this little found family thing. And Vivian's friend, Waylon. They all formed this little, found family sort of thing. And no romance at all. So this will be my first book, I think, that has absolute zero romance, which will be interesting. And then the Witch Coven series I mentioned, yeah, there'll be romance, but they'll be on the side because the main relationship is going to be Melinda and Ruby, and their relationship is not romantic. But you can never really stop people from shipping things. People ship non-canon things all the time, which isn't bad, but with Melinda and Ruby, it's very important for people to know that it's not romantic and it will never be romantic. I can't really dwell on that more because it's a spoiler. But yeah, but I love a good book about friendship and found family. I feel like that's part of the reason why I love Seekers so much. There's a lot of reasons why I love Seekers. It's my favorite book series, one of them. And it's like, yeah, there does end up being romance later on in it, but it's even after romance is introduced, once the characters are a bit older, it's still mostly about the friendship between these characters. And I feel like that is so amazing, and we don't get to see that very often. You have that amazing line in Queen of Monsters about not needing romance but wanting it, and when you do write romance, I really enjoy the way you write it. Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah, for me, even when I do write romance, it's important because, like, one thing I made sure when I did Cleese and Jones romance in the novellas was that I wanted, because I feel like there's so many times in TV and in book and stuff you see toxic couples and toxic love interests, and sometimes I'm just like, why are people shipping this? Like, I honestly don't get it. Like the first example I can think of is the Vampire Diaries. Like Caroline and Stefan is so hated as a couple, even though they have a really healthy friends slow burn romance, and then everyone is over here shipping Caroline with Klaus, who I consider have abused her because he tried to kill her, then saved her, then wanted her to basically be like, help him when he needs something. And he was like, oh, I saved your life twice. And she was like, yeah, because you put it in danger twice. And yet people are shipping them. And I don't get it. I don't. Okay. Or people want Stefan with Elena, who cheated on him with his brother. So, like, I don't get it. Like, there's a very, very healthy relationship right there that people could be shipping. But no, everyone wants a toxic couple. So when I wrote Khaleesi and Joan, especially, I wanted it to be extremely healthy. I wanted people to know, like, that, like, one of my favorite novellas was probably Forbidden, because I feel like it was very healthy on both their parts, because Joan was afraid to go against her father, was afraid to admit who she was. And Khaleesi was like, you know what? I get that because of the world we live in, this and that, but I can't do this because it's hurting me and I need to do what's best for me. I feel like they tackled that very important and it was very healthy. And yeah, it broke both their hearts, but they were both they had a very healthy outlook. And I feel like one thing about them was that they were very good on communication, which I feel like a lot of couples and media and stuff isn't good on communication, like, at all. I feel like there's so many miscommunication trope. And don't get me wrong, miscommunication I think can be done well if it's done here and there. But I feel like people use that way too often when they want the couple to break up but don't know how to break them up, or they'll find a different way to break them up that's very toxic, and then by the end of it you don't even want them together anymore. And I feel like in the novellas, they broke up in that novella, but that was lasted like 2 seconds and then they got back together. But other than that, they stayed together. After they got together, they were together. Because another thing I always hated was whenever they wanted drama, so they broke up the couple just to create drama. And then they wait till the series is almost over before they even get together. And it's like, I don't want the drama. I want to see them together. At least for me, I do. Like, that's part of the point of shipping them. It's like, I want my characters to be happy, at least for a little bit. So it can be very annoying. So, like, the novellas, they're actually together for most of it. And I feel like that was very important for me, at least. And your characters remain their identities even in a relationship, like how Roxanne does not give up parts of herself on her dreams to be with Calista. Yes, because one thing about Roxanne in the Queen of Monsters is that she wanted to travel, and you find out in the last chapter, because it's like a time jump, that she did travel during that time jump, and she wasn't going to give up her dreams for. And I feel like Kalisa and Roxanne had that very important conversation about like kids and marriage, because one thing I also wanted to do was that Kalisa was always big on never wanting kids or marriage. It was just not her thing. And I feel like it's so many times that they change it. They give a character that didn't want kids or marriage, kids and marriage. And I feel like it's usually a women character, because like that's what you do, right? No, not all the time. If you want kiss and marriage, that's great because that's part of Isabella's happy ending. Yes, she wanted to marry Jeremy. She wanted a big family, so she got it. But Calista didn't, and she was happy. Even though she lives in eternity, she doesn't need kids or marriage to be fulfilled. She had her adventures. She had her friendship with Ray and Isabella and Henry. She became this little like fun aunt figure for Isabella's kids, so she was okay with that. And she had her relationship with Roxanne, but kids and marriage was never part of her happy ending. And even if she did want romance with Roxanne, she didn't want the marriage part. And it's like, that's totally fine. You don't want to get married, don't get married. And I feel like there's so many times that even though I do not like the ending of How I Met Your Mother, one thing I respect is that after all this time, they did not give Robin marriage and kids, because she made it clear from day one. Well, technically, she did end up getting married, at least for a few years. But one thing she made clear from day one, that she did not want kids. And they kept that true. She did not want kids, so she did not have kids. And I love that, because I feel like we don't see that enough. But I was very happy with how I ended their arcs and what happened to them in the end in that time jump. I was very happy with where everyone ended up and their lives and such. I like how you create strong female characters. Thank you. Yes, that is very important to me. And because, yeah, and it's like, I have like, you can be like, Kalista isn't much of a dress person. She's kind of a leather jacket kind of person and wearing 100 knives hidden in her outfit kind of person. 100% agree. Thank you. But one thing I am also excited for, because I feel like you can be one thing we don't see enough is like the strong characters that do like to wear dresses and stuff. Like, I feel like Isabella was a strong character, but she wears dresses. She wears heels. I know Roxanne made a comment at one point when she was following Ayana down a long flight of stairs. She was thinking to herself, she was like, I shouldn't have worn heels for this. I don't know how the commies do this, because they like do not like they have nothing stops them. Like, they can run in heels and it doesn't bother them. And Roxanne too, she turns out to be a very strong character, but she likes dresses and she likes heels. And I feel like, yeah, there are strong characters that still do that. Like my Witch Coven series I told you about, Ruby wears dresses and wears heels, and yeah, she's extremely strong. Like, she might even be the strongest character in that series. And I feel like that's important to showcase as well. Does anybody have any last questions for me? Or we could end this here if nobody has anything else they want to say. Any questions, any comments? But I'm very excited for this release. I have been anticipating it for such a long time, and I'm so glad that it's finally out and that people can finally read it. And I'm so excited for people to start reading it and to review it. I know somebody who just bought the first 2 Realm Monsters books and said she was going to buy the third one once it's out, so that's exciting. And I'm so excited for people to get the full trilogy. Can't wait to read it. Thank you. It's very long, but I am very happy with how it turned out. But thank you, everybody, for coming. And watching me rant about my books, my writing and stuff, and all your amazing questions. Thank you all for joining and listening to me. And I really hope you guys, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of my video, but I did put my Amazon author page in the description so that you guys can just click it and go to my profile to get my books. And yeah, so thank you all for coming. It's been lovely talking to all of you, and I will chat with you guys soon. So thank you, and please read my trilogy. I'm very excited for it. So thank you.